watch out. I'm gonna say something controversial. Get those tweets ready. Google cares about your privacy. As long as it doesn't get in the way of them making money, and it turns out there is a lot of ways they can make money off of your data. Why do I bring this up? Well, did you know that XScreensaver exists on the Google Play Store? This isn't some weird application that's just named XScreensaver and is just squatting on the name. This is by the actual developer. It is listed on the XScreensaver website. Now, being Android, there is a severe limitation to what you can actually do with this, so what it actually is just a collection of live wallpapers. But by being on the Play Store, it requires a privacy policy. Now, the developer wasn't too happy about having to do this because it's a wallpaper, it's a screensaver. Why do I need a privacy policy? I'm not collecting any data whatsoever. Why should I need to include that? And because he wasn't too happy about having to do so, he went to his community and asked for some suggestions on what he can include in the privacy policy, and got some very, very interesting ones. And somehow, I have no idea how it happened when you see this, it actually got approved by Google. This is now the official privacy policy for the Android version of XScreensaver. So let's have a look then. XScreensaver for Android is a set of screensavers and live wallpapers. That's it. It draws pretty pictures on your screen and it's free. That's the whole deal. But in their wisdom, Google, the biggest privacy violator on the planet, have decreed that XScreensaver cannot be made available on the Play Store until I publish a privacy policy. For a screensaver, a privacy policy for a screensaver. This pantomime where Google pretends to care about your welfare would be hilarious if it wasn't so sad. But here we are anyway. Okay, strap in. This privacy policy is structured as a series of dot points of the countless times that Google has completely disregarded user privacy. I'm not going to go over all of them because, as you just noticed, there is quite a few here, but I will talk about a lot of them. The beginning is all fairly normal, fairly reasonable stuff. Unlike Google, XScreensaver collects no user data. Unlike Google, XScreensaver uses no user data, having collected no user data. Unlike Google, XScreensaver shares no user data, having collected no user data. Unlike Google, XScreensaver has no need to process requests for deletion of that user data, having collected no user data. Unlike Google, XScreensaver will never track your location. This is just the standard GPS functionality built into every single Android phone. Unlike Google, XScreensaver will never track your location, even if you ask them not to. Unlike Google, XScreensaver will never track your location and then lie about it. This led to a $400 million settlement. Unlike Google, XScreensaver will never pay your distro to install it by default. This refers to Apple being paid lots and lots and lots of money, $20 billion in 2022, to be the default search engine in Safari. There is a very simple reason why they do this. They are terrified that Apple makes their own search engine. Right now, they are terrified of ChatGPT eating into their search money. If Apple decided that they want to have a search engine, they're going to make it the default on every Apple device. And that is a giant chunk of the market share. Yes, a lot of users are going to swap back, but there's going to be a lot of people that just now use Apple search. And to Google, $20 billion in a single year, going up from $18 billion the year prior, that's basically nothing to make sure this doesn't happen. Unlike Google, XScreensaver will never destroy the federated nature of email. This is basically about the existence of Gmail. Prior to Gmail being a thing, it was fairly common to have to pay for an email provider if you wanted to have more than just basically no storage. Gmail completely destroyed that entire market, much like Ubuntu completely destroyed the ability to sell a Linux distro. It just did everything the others did completely for free. Also, before Gmail, it was very common for just regular people, not people working in a company that have a business email, but just regular people out there to have various different email hosting providers. Nowadays, there has been a lot of consolidation. Unlike Google, XScreensaver will never tell you to put glue on pizza, eat rocks, or smoke while pregnant. This is about the recent AI Google overview nonsense where if you search for a question, it would give you an answer that was basically fabricated from the search results. Now, the problem is they weren't filtering out places like Reddit, The Onion, and various other places where you're gonna get really bad answers sometimes, and it would just tell people, hey, doctors recommend eating a small rock a day. Doctors recommend smoking 3 cigarettes a day, which is obvious nonsense that should not be included. Unlike Google, XScreensaver will never prompt you to call your dead father on Father's Day. So they were trying to do something good here. This was back in 2011. They were prompting people on Father's Day to go and call the person in their context under the name Dad. Fairly reasonable. Until you realize that people don't necessarily remove contacts from their phone if that person has died, or if they're in a coma, or if they're in some situation where you're not able to contact them. And a lot of people at the time felt like this was like really out of touch, and it seemed like this weird thing that just came out of a boardroom meeting that didn't actually get tested amongst real people. Unlike Google, XScreensaver will never secretly purchase your banking data. Yes, that's something Google did. Are you surprised? Unlike Google, XScreensaver will never sabotage competitors. So, this is a really dumb situation where there were contractors working for Google who were submitting nonsense data to the OpenStreetMap project. Now, Google ended up firing these people. Yeah, that makes sense. But when they were doing it, they were still employed at Google. Is Google responsible for that? Probably not, but it does look bad on them. Unlike Google, XScreensaver will never lock you out of your own files because they might be inappropriate. So this is a story that happened earlier this year. There was a smart author making use of Google Docs. She had 10 in-progress books. And as you do with an in-progress book, she tried to share it with one of her friends to do some proofreading and just get some feedback on the book in its current state. She couldn't do that because when she tried to share it, that book got marked as inappropriate content and it just couldn't be shared anymore. Now, she could still keep the files on Google Drive. There was nothing wrong with them hosting the file, but she just couldn't share it. And in typical Google fashion, it didn't say what part of the text was the problem. It just said, this is inappropriate. Good luck, work it out yourself now. Unlike Google, XScreensaver will never intentionally degrade performance at the request of governments. This is the well-documented fact that depending on where in the world you are going to get different search results, and some of those search results aren't organic based on what people are searching for. They are things that governments specifically don't want you to see. The example here is Tiananmen Square. Unlike Google, XScreensaver will never become a US military contractor. In the same vein, will never become a foreign military contractor. Is there a major company out there that somewhere along the line doesn't have some sort of military connection? Unlike Google, XScreensaver will never report you to the police for riding a bicycle. So this person had their phone on them, as you do with your phone, and they rode past a house that had just been burglarized. Because they were at the wrong place at the wrong time, this made them a suspect. Unlike Google, XScreensaver will never use everything you've ever posted for AI training, regardless of your copyright. This is just the way that all of this AI stuff is going. Whether we're talking about what OpenAI is doing, what Google is doing, what anybody else is doing, whether we're talking about code, images, music, video, 3D modeling, which is the newest aspect that we're starting to see, all of this is being trained on data that they just don't own the copyright to. There are very specific certain cases where the data is clean, but the vast majority of it is not being done like that. Unlike Google, XScreensaver will never leak your secret product details. So, once again, a Google contractor had access to something they shouldn't have had access to, and they leaked a Nintendo video before it should have went public. Now, I don't care about Nintendo getting a little bit screwed over, but this probably shouldn't have happened. Unlike Google, XScreensaver will never age restrict your squeeze toy. This is a video that got age restricted. It's a video of squeezing a duck, and the duck squeeze toy eyes pop out of the squeeze toy duck. That is all. Unlike Google, XScreensaver will never block your video because your washing machine beeped. The Samsung washing machine chime triggered a YouTube copyright fiasco. Now, the tune being used wasn't even a tune that should have been able to be used in the Content ID system. It was based on something from 1817. But the YouTube copyright system is the YouTube copyright system. Unlike Google, XScreensaver will never block your video because of a copyright claim on white noise. Again, another video. These are people that have their own white noise videos who I almost certainly guarantee don't own the copyright to that sound anyway, did not make it themselves, but the YouTube copyright system is a mess. Unlike Google, XScreensaver will never have a graveyard. This is a great website of every single service that Google has ever killed. There is a lot of them here, and there's probably some in here which you have literally never heard of. You have no idea when it existed, why it existed, who decided to make it, but it's here. The thing about Google is they give their employees a lot of freedom to go and make individual projects, and some of those become long-running products like Gmail, for example. A lot of them, though, just vanish in 8 days. Unlike Google, XScreensaver will never fire you by email. Hey, at least they got an email, unlike some people that get laid off over Twitter. Unlike Google, XScreensaver will never retaliate against you for forming a union. Don't we all love a bit of union busting? Unlike Google, XScreensaver will never pay women less than men for doing the same job. This led to a $118 million payout. They were, messing around a little bit. And most importantly, unlike Google, XScreensaver will never run around and desert you. I am not going to click this link. You know what this link is. I have no idea how this privacy policy got approved. I have to assume that nobody read it, which, considering the way that things usually work with Google, I'm gonna say that's a pretty safe bet. So go and read the rest of the privacy policy yourself. There is a lot of stories in here, many of which you've probably never heard of before, and it's absolutely worth a read. So if you liked the video, go like the video. And if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, subscribe, Libera Pay, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and privacy.
Something like this.